Plane is where the meeting point is for going up to Monte Morello, which is a very beautiful place, and then we can visit the association and the cooperative of the Casa Famiglia Io Sono Mio. So there will be a meeting point because they are going to be picking up to Monte Morello, but we are going to meet, everybody is going to meet to a certain point, and I'm going to describe to you. And after this visit, our first consolidation training will be over. There will be, I hope there will be time to talk about your impressions, the evaluation questionnaire, and which will be distributed to you later. It's important that you also give advice with regards to the next 2 training sessions that will be held in Madrid and in Lisbon, because all the advices, all the comments you are going to make on this session will be very useful to our colleagues in Madrid and in Lisbon for the preparation of the field visits, of the interviews, and all suggestions that come from your side are more than welcome. Ci sono anche le altre?
Sì, comunque possiamo...
Okay, now while we're waiting for the Skoda colleagues to arrive, I am very honored and happy to welcome Professor Annamaria Campanini, who is the President of the International Association of Schools of Social Work. She's going to give a talk about social work education between indigenization and internationalization. The talk will be in English. And her presence makes us really very happy, not only because of the institutional figure, but also because being members and becoming members of these European and international associations is for the Albanian universities a very important step towards internationalization, towards being a part of the same community of thinkers, of social workers, and in connection with the policymakers and with the stakeholders that we have already identified in our project. So the floor is yours. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation.
Thank you very much. I am really happy and honored to be here on behalf of the International Association of Schools of Social Work. And of course, I would like to start with some information about our association. I know that some of you perhaps are very familiar with that, but I don't know if everybody knows about this association. So, shall I start with some more short? So, many people are really surprised when they understand when it was created the International Association. This constitution dates back from 1928, and it was in the first conference organized in Paris. The conference was organized by a doctor, a Belgian doctor, René Sand. He went to visit the United States and look and participate to the National American Conference of Social Work. And then when he came back to Europe, he decided that it was really important to have this international meeting. And you can imagine this meeting in 1928, how were the transportation at that time. More than 2,000 people attended the meeting from all over the Western world, of course, Europe and the United States mainly. And the first president of IA was Alice Salomon. Alice Salomon has been the founder of the social work in Germany, and she was very, very much involved in the international dimension of social work. She did a study on 100 curricula of social work in the world, trying to see what were the core competencies, the core topics, and what were more linked to the specificity of the countries. So she didn't want to make a totally identical curriculum all over the world, but she thought that it should be important to find some core aspect and then to they didn't use this word, but they localized the social work to the country in which this was expanding. And you can see we are really international at this moment. After the first period in which the presidency were more about American and European, now you can see the last president, Abitasse from Ethiopia, Angelina Yuen from Hong Kong, Vinland Afghani from India, and finally myself as a South Europe that has never been so much present in this organization. And the vision of the International Association is the one to promote excellence in social work education, research and scholarship. This is our main philosophical background. And this excellence is not pursued only for having a good standard, good outcome, but because we need to develop through our education social work, and that will be able to work for the social justice, for the human rights, for an equitable world. And we have different activities that we work together with the other two associations that has been created in the same 1928 conference, the International Federation of Social Workers, which collect all the professionals in this field, and International Council of Social Welfare that collect the organizations that are working for the social justice, for human sustainable development, and can be public or private or non-profit. So these three associations all together, they are since 2000 organizing the biennial conference on social work and social development. What happened, I have to speak a bit about this situation which has been unfortunately not so good when I started my presidency. The organization of the conference was launched as a joint conference in 2000 with the Hong Kong conference, and then went on with a different location. In the bid, in Seoul, I was elected as a president in 2016, and the president of the federation was Ruth Stark from Scotland. The president of IC is now also Eva Elstrom from Sweden. So we thought that we could go on in this project, in this process, but unfortunately what happens was a conflict between IAIC and IF. IF, when we received the bid for the conference, wanted to go to Calgary in Canada. And the Calgary bid was not really well prepared, because when we asked for a conference at the international level, we, in the first point of the bid, there is that in the country it is necessary to have the national branch of the International Association. So there were two bids, Calgary and Rimini in Italy. Rimini, where the group of Rimini was working very hard to have all the three associations represented, and made the letter of agreement and made a very social program. Calgary had only two associations, IA and IF, but there was not IC member represented in Calgary. So there was a discussion, there was a conflict. They wanted to go there, in any case, without following the rules. I was very strong with IC, not because it was in Italy, but it should have been everywhere, because when we send the bid and bid as some specific rules is not correct. If we have bid and one is following the rule and the other is not, to go with the one who is not going. So it has been a long process of discussion, of conflict, not only on that, but on many other topics. At the end, what will happen in 2020, we will have two different conferences. IF will have the conference in Calgary, and IA and IC will have the conference here in Italy. Fortunately, in Dublin, during the international conference, the new election made a very big change. This person was not supported, and the new president is Silvana Martinez from Argentina. So we knew each other, we started to cooperate, and we wanted really to show that the three organizations are aligned, they wanted to work together, there is nothing to do with this conflict that has been in the past. So for the 2022 conference, we will go again together, and the bid is out now. We change a bit the requisite because we thought that it was important also to open the space for a region of the world that doesn't have the three organizations, but as a means to help this country or this region to organize a new branch of the one who is missing. And so now we are collecting new bids for 2022, and we go all together once again. The other aspect that is very important is the global agenda. Have you heard about the global agenda? Do you know what it is? Yes? Okay, so you know that it's finishing now in 2020 with the fourth pillar that is promoting human relationship. And we are working to prepare the new global agenda from 2020 to 2030. The document will be prepared using all the feedback of the different areas, and we will try to collect and make this draft discussed during the two different conferences. As president, we will be both in Rimini and in Calgary, all three presidents. And if there will be some change or some observation from Rimini and from Calgary, we will try to collect this, and the small group who is preparing the document will update together with the two presidents. So I think that this has been very important. And you know, we are experts on relation, we are experts on communication, but sometimes what happens is that also in our context, some leadership are more focused on personal interest than collective and discipline or professional interest. So this has been very good that now we have overcome this situation. Another important aspect is what the two organizations that are more connected with discipline and profession are working together for the international definition of social work that has been approved in Melbourne in 2014. And the ethics in social work statement of principles. Sorry, I forgot to change the second one, because the new principle of ethics has been approved in Dublin last year in 2018. And the global standard for social work education and training, that can be something that can be of interest also of you, are now under revision, because the old one were approved in 2004, and of course changing the definition, changing the principle, changing the society. We really thought that it was important to update this standard, and this was one of the programs I present when I made my candidacy for the election. Now we have the task force, which is composed by a representative of IA and a representative of IF. And we have organized some workshops during regional conference. The last one was was in Madrid, and the other one has been done. The other workshop has been done in Canada. We will organize the next workshop in the Asia Pacific conference to collect input, collect information, because of course, as Alice Salomon said in the past, we want to try to offer some support, but we don't accredit any course. This is not our job, and it's not our job to punish in a way or to exclude from our association some schools that, because are the beginning, because are in a difficult condition, are not totally following the standard. So it's a guideline, it's something that can be used also, for example, with some political organization, not to try to force or to convince the Ministry of Education of one country to follow this standard, to realize an education that can be connected with the need of the society, but also that can be coherent in the world dimension. Of course, we have, as an association, different committees and task force that have been created to fulfill our main objectives. We have, in relation to education, we have a capacity building. You are doing this in a more internal European context, but we have realized at international level capacity building, for example, for Vietnam, a 3-year project that now has been reorganized for the future. We have this very interesting opportunity to present some proposal for international projects that are sort of seed money that can be given to the university. It's $4,000. It's not so much, but it's something that can help and support to start a project, to have a possibility to meet in a group. Of course, the member of the project should be member of the IA. And also, we are working on a task force on research. Until now, what has been done has been a sort of declaration. What is the research in social work? How to differ from other kind of research? But of course, this task force is working on a different idea, different project. During the Dublin conference, for example, has been collected a video with the presentation coming from all the past president or people that had a leadership role in the association, trying to describe the path that they have had in the International Association, and also some personal notes on how to be women and to have some leadership position. Then we have advocacy and policy. We have a group on global agenda. We have spoken about that. A group on human rights. A group on sustainability and climate change. We participated to the COP in France, in Marrakesh, in Bonn, presenting some side events on the role of the social worker, for example, in disaster and so on. We have a very important, we have a representation at the UN. There are people in New York and Geneva who are following the activities of all the commission that are connected with our topic, of course, and they can present statements, they can present observation. Of course, it's a consultative status. We are with the NGOs group, but I think it's very important. And in our website, you can find the report, for example, for the UN interns that are working on that. We have international committee that is working where is needed. For example, next in January will be not in Indonesia, somewhere in the Asia Pacific area. We have been in Japan, we have been in Africa, in Nairobi. Perhaps we will be also to Albania if you want. You can ask us. But of course, except to this board meeting, because during the board meeting we work on our internal jobs. But after, we always have one day of seminars that can be co-organized with our committee on education and the local organization. And moreover, what can be done? You have this nice network, which is very good. But of course, we can also come to participate, or some of our members can come and participate to your activities. Now the new president of the European
and really made me really think about the challenges that we have to reflect on our curricula. But I had a curiosity. During these days, we heard that here the organization or the state has faced problems with the capacity of the social worker in the field. What is your statement about this problem? Do you think that we really have a lack of capacity in order to perform better our work on the field?
Absolutely.
We have.
No.
It's the same in international level, or depends on the proper schools that we follow up?
Sorry, I am a very open. I am Italian. I have been studying in Parma and teaching for many years in Parma. And I have seen during this year the education for social worker going down in a deep way. It's impossible that you can train a social worker here with the complexity of the problem, with the three course, 15 credits mandatory in the ministerial program on discipline of social work, and 18 credits on practice. There are universities that are trying to do their best, doing some integration, using some professionals, but this is not a proper training. I have been fighting, and I also have a degree in sociology, so but I cannot understand why there is this, I can understand, but this is another issue. It seems to me incredible. It's like a doctor in medicine that we study a lot of chemistry, pharmacy, biology, and a lot of things, and then they should have 6 years, only six courses on medical clinical topics, taught by a doctor. So I know that some colleagues doesn't want to say that, but I say that there is not a proper preparation to become social worker in Italy. This is
that already emerged, in your opinion, as important elements to keep or to work on.
Yeah, but of course, I think one aspect is the recognition of the problems, because I think that perhaps in the past there was not a real analysis of what were the problems of the society. Then the area of the human rights, the area of the influence of the globalization on the country in terms of more macro, you can say more general. And then of course I think that I am not aware so much about the social policy structure and how is now the organization of the social services in Albania. So for me it's a bit difficult to enter into the specific what are the best, for example, theoretical model that can be used. Personally, I think that the social, the systemic theory, it can be a good theoretical lens to look not at the problems, but also to look at the specificity of the situation. I was just in this day trying to prepare another conference about the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and how the social work education can cope with this. And I listened Fitri of Capra, you know Capra? Yes. He was a physicist, and now he's very much involved in all this holistic approach. He was really underlining the importance to look at the world dynamic as well as individual, personal dynamic as under the systemic approach, and see how we can work in the SDGs, not only focusing on one, but looking at the interconnectedness between them and trying to see. So for this reason I think that our theoretical methodological focus on the multidimensional approach should be interesting, because independently of the level in which you work, if you are working with one single client, you can look at the community and you can look on how your organization has to change to respond to the needs of the community. And also you can look at the effect of the globalization. Now when I speak about the systemic, the influence of the political, economic, cultural, and also ecological now. I will add this 4 pillar in our situation. So help the students to have this vision and to try to translate into action that can be, sometimes I feel that there is a conflict, ideological conflict on working with the client or working with the community. I think that this cannot be a sort of splitting, no? But we have to go, because working with the client, I can with this research-minded openness, I can find what are the common problems and how can I organize some project in the community or some new services in the organization to respond to this. How to work with the group of clients, how to work with the network of association or social actors, it will be important. So trying to really to have this holistic approach and not to fragment it. Of course, the techniques, you can learn how to make an interview, you can learn how to lead a group, you can work how to make a project, you can work how to organize services. So these are specific skills. But the whole background should be really connected in the mind of the people.
And if I may, another aspect that really interests me a lot is your
professional role, both as a professor and academic, and the political role of being the president of the International Association. I was very impressed by the opening ceremony in Madrid last month, because the issue of social justice was really at the core, at the center of all interventions, your intervention included. And coming from a political science environment, I was really impressed, because this was really a clear and an evident aspect. So my question is, how do you harmonize these both aspects of your professional activity, being an academic and having a political role? Because you have to do both with university, bureaucracy and leadership, and with the political one. And I think this is interesting because in Albania, I think that you have the opportunity of both speaking to the rectors and speaking to the person of the ministry, so how to harmonize and how to get the best of all the two aspects.
Yes, I can tell that my personal experience in playing a political role in Italy has not been that also certain. I lost. But perhaps I didn't use the good strategies. I don't know. I try to do many different actions in many different directions, but unfortunately didn't change anything in the structure. I used the European Association before. I used the International now. I organized a meeting, a European conference in Milan, and you can imagine, in Milan, also the president of my degree course was not present at this conference. So this says a lot. At more international level, for me, is easier. In this moment, I have a little bit abandon my university. I am doing my duty, I am doing what is requested, but I am not so much committed with my university. They are happy that I am in this kind of position, because of course they can spend it in the internationalization process. But next year I will finish my job there, because I will be 70, so I left this context. At the international level, we are trying to do a lot. For example, also with some statement. Today it will go out a statement, a joint statement, IF and IA against the Bolsonaro government. Is cutting not only the resources, but also is doing a lot of bad control on the area of sociology, philosophy, and social work. So we are trying to do some concrete support to the colleagues who are living in a very difficult situation.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much again for this really inspiring tool for the following discussion. We have a coffee break now, and then there are some videos who have been prepared by our Albania colleagues with interviews with